fearfully, suspiciously, and distrustfully everywhere, always on guard and vigilant, not tranquil in mind, always with the feeling of sitting on pins and needles, or complacent and arrogant, bluffing, feeling that their talents are unrecognized, the world is unfair, in short, they cannot get any peace of mind. People are willing to surrender if they have a bit of religious sentiment. Surrender is not a bad thing. I surrender to the greatest creator, surrender to Jesus, Shakyamuni, and have even surrendered to Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva many times. I don't think there is anything wrong with that. Their EQ, IQ, and SQ are all higher than mine, so why not surrender? When surrendering to the greatest creator, gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings, on the contrary, I feel that the world is vast, I am free and at peace, so why not surrender? I am even willing to surrender to an ordinary person. If he is selfless, unselfish, has lofty ideals, and is working hard on putting them into practice. If I surrender, I have no doubts. But what if the person you surrendered to is wrong? My philosophy is this. Since his EQ, IQ, and SQ are higher than mine, he cannot be wrong, and even if he is wrong, what does it matter? Wouldn't I make a mistake if I do the same with my EQ, IQ, and SQ? Besides, what is wrong? What is right? What was wrong at one time is totally right several years or several hundred years later, and what was thought to be right at another time is totally wrong after decades of years or several hundred years. People do cultivate some religious sentiment. We have nothing great in ourselves. Don't think that we have understood the mysteries of the universe, and we can guide the world just because we have some skills. When facing the universe, we are too small. We can't tell the difference between good and evil, right and wrong. The universe, the grand script, is too complicated, too mysterious, and too subtle. I have studied with great concentration for 17 years, and still feel that I have only got to know and understand a drop of water in the ocean. Only pious belief, with a little religious sentiment, can lead us to a smooth road and let us step into a bright future. 随天性而行, living in accordance with our nature. Xiefeng. April 19, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. Nature is the nature of our origin, which is the original characteristic that the greatest creator gives to each life. To follow one's nature is to live according to the nature of our origin. Why should we follow our nature? Because only by living according to our nature of origin can you live according to your true colors and live your life as yourself. Only by living as yourself can you live a life that will not have been in vain and that will conform to the Creator's intention. A person is a complex part of society. A person's life is restricted by various social factors. If he cannot break through the shackles of these various factors and live according to his own nature, his life will be a tragedy. Not many people really live out their lives as themselves, and everyone cannot get what they really yearn for because our words and deeds are restricted and our inner desires are suppressed by reality. In this sense, people are slaves of factors related to themselves, not the masters of their own lives. What factors restrict one's nature? Many. All factors that relate to oneself more or less restrict the blooming of one's nature, such as parents, children, husband and wife, siblings, culture, wave, groups to which one belongs, such as companies, political parties, religious groups, and governments, country, etc. Next, I will only talk about the constraints imposed on human nature by the three factors of husband and wife, culture, and country. All married people understand that since you have a husband or wife, your free nature is restricted, and you can no longer do whatever you want with your free will. If you want to give some money to your parents, is that okay? If you want to date a classmate of the opposite sex, is it okay? If you want to sit by the beach alone on Sunday, is it okay? If you want to eat steamed buns every day, is it okay? If you want to, so on and so on, the marriage will not work. You have to take care of the other person's emotions, you have to consider the other person's requirements, and you have to consider the other person's habits and hobbies. You are no longer yourself. You can no longer find yourself, and you are a mixture of yourself and the other person. Everyone has grown up in the culture of their own nationality. Culture has already subtly infiltrated our blood cells and our consciousness. We have already become slaves of our own culture before we know it. It has already invisibly controlled our horizon and thinking and restricted our words and deeds. The cultural devil has long been lurking in our values, outlook on life, and outlook on the universe. Its invisible power controls our thoughts, our hands, and feet, and we are totally unaware that our own nature has long been ruled by the culture that we are familiar with. For example, find one's origin, return to the birth family. Fallen leaves return to the roots. To revert to one's origin is a component of the Chinese culture. Under the control of the invisible power of this culture, people like to continue writing their family trees, and the strong desire to glorify their ancestors has always been growing in their bones. Even if they have lived in a foreign country for several generations, they can't forget that their bones are to be buried in their ancestors' grave after death. The descendants of the British Empire have the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and other territories, while the descendants of China have been bound to their homeland for generations. Even though there are more than 50 million overseas Chinese scattered around the world today, everyone's heart is still concerned about their hometown, and not many people really treat and help to build the foreign land they are working and living in as their own home. Therefore, there has been a black president in the United States, but there will not be a Chinese president, because the Chinese always treat themselves as guests living in a foreign country. They are temporarily living under another's roof, and they still want to return to their homeland. If they have earned some money, they cannot forget to buy real estate back in China. The invisible control power of culture affects the thinking of every Chinese and makes their thinking go around in circles, and thus they cannot get out of the Egypt of the spirit. The state is another important factor that restricts humans' nature. With the existence of the state, we are endowed with the role of being citizens. As citizens, we have to bear the requirements and restrictions of the state on its citizens. If there are things that the state does not allow us to do, then we can't do them. If there are things that the state doesn't allow us to say, then we can't say them. This is called, you are only allowed to behave properly, and you are not allowed to be unruly in words and deeds. In this way, your nature will not be displayed at all. If you live in a democratic and civilized country, you have a little more freedom and a little more choice. If you live in an autocratic and barbaric country, your nature is basically suppressed, not to mention your choices. So even reposting articles in the online WeChat site is banned, and one might even be put to jail for this, let alone be permitted to have any ideas and innovations. Therefore, from the single factor of the country, people cannot live out their nature. In addition to the above three factors restricting the display of human nature, it is also difficult for people who are working for their survival to follow their nature. All those who work for the country, all those who work for the bosses of private enterprises to earn wages, and all those who fight for the future of their children are those who have to work for their survival. Almost none of them is free. A person without freedom, of course, is not able to follow his nature. There are different levels of lives. We can't say that pigs and people are of the same level of life, can we? In life, celestial beings and Buddhas are higher than human beings, because celestial beings and Buddhas do not have lives that are controlled by family, country, culture, political party, religion, and other factors. They follow their nature. The reason why we should follow our nature is to sublimate the quality of our life and let ourselves live like celestial beings and Buddhas. How do we follow our nature? Following one's nature means throwing away all the things that restrict one's nature. If you can't throw them away in reality, you should throw them away in your consciousness first, and then gradually throw them away bit by bit. This is the meaning of what Lao Tzu said in the Tao Te Ching: the student of knowledge aims at learning day by day. The student of Tao aims at losing day by day. By continual losing, one reaches the state of doing nothing, laissez-faire. He who conquers the world often does so by doing nothing. Secondly, do what you like, do what you are good at. Don't lust for money, don't lust for power, don't lust for fame, don't lust for family, don't lust for the glory of your ancestors, don't lust for your country, don't lust for any organization or group. Only be obsessed with what you like and what you are good at. Difficult? Of course, it is difficult. If it was not difficult, there would be celestial beings and Buddhas everywhere. If it was not difficult, the earth would have already become a paradise. 情商智商灵商 EQ, emotional quotient. IQ, intelligence quotient. SQ, spiritual quotient. Xiefeng. May 20th, 2018, at Lac La Hatch Lake, BC, Canada. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. People have three quotients, namely emotional quotient, EQ, intelligence quotient, IQ, and spiritual quotient, SQ. EQ refers to a person's ability to control his emotions and deal with the relationships that he has with others, society, and nature, as well as having the courage and boldness to overcome difficulties. IQ refers to a person's ability to analyze, judge, and summarize the essence of a phenomenon, and then use this information to solve a problem. SQ refers to a person's comprehension by intuition and ability to respond to various information stimuli, and his sensitivity to perception, to enlightenment, and the epiphany of a certain phenomenon. If a person can maintain a good relationship with people around him with few exceptions, that proves that a person has a high EQ. If he can get along with anyone and have a close relationship with them, the EQ of this person is the highest. Also, if one is not afraid when facing difficulties and crises and still has the courage to maintain a good mental state, this person must have a high EQ. On the contrary, if one cannot handle interpersonal relationships well and is always out of place with people around him and feels discouraged and depressed when he encounters setbacks and blows, it proves that the person's EQ is very low. If a person's heart is very calm and his life is in order, when in the face of difficulties and dangers in life, he can maintain a good attitude, hold on to his beliefs, and actively seek ways and means to solve problems, that proves that he has a high IQ. If a person can't distinguish between priorities in life and his life is messy and disorganized, that proves that his ability to analyze, judge, and summarize things and phenomena is low. And if he is helpless in the face of difficulties and complains about others, there is no doubt that this person's IQ is very low. If a person is agile and lively, is good at understanding truth from all the phenomena encountered, discovering another level of a realm, and can quickly adjust his mentality, state, and direction, it proves that this person has a high SQ. Conversely, if a person is arrogant, obsessed with his own opinions, and always believes that he is correct, there is no doubt that the person's SQ is very low. How can we improve our EQ, IQ, and SQ? The way to improve one's EQ is to turn to love and let everything and everyone in the world become the object of your love. The way to improve one's IQ is to listen and learn, to listen to the teachings of the sages, listen to the sounds of nature, to study, expand your own thinking horizon to the greatest extent, and not to limit your consciousness to a certain field inflexibly. The way to improve one's SQ is to cultivate faith and religious sentiments. Remember, without faith, there won't be a high spiritual quotient. A simple way to test your EQ, IQ, and SQ. EQ. If you have good relationships with people you know, your EQ is high. If you have many conflicts with people you know, your EQ is low. IQ. If you feel that life is full of joy, your IQ is high. If you feel that life is full of troubles and pain, your IQ is low. SQ. If you believe that you don't need knowledge, your SQ is high. If you think of yourself as capable and intelligent, you have low SQ. 走出人性的雾霾. Out of the smog of human nature. Xiefeng. July 29, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. Under the smog, the sky is dim. The ground is low and deep. The sun is weak. The mountains are gloomy, and the rivers are crying. The species are weeping. Everything is desolate, melancholy, and sorrowful. If you don't get out of the smog, your spirit will become weakened. Your soul will become wearisome. Your body will become sick, and your future will be like a desert. The deepest smog is the smog of human nature. Under the smog of human nature, psychology will be deviant. The truth will be twisted. Good and evil will be disguised. The status quo will be distorted. People will be at a loss and won't know what to do. Humanity will get lost, and their direction will become confused. Falsehoods, evil, and ugliness will become rampant and unimpeded. Truth, goodness, and beauty will be shackled. With a little carelessness, people will fall into the wrong path, fall into hell, cause a sad ending since a single slip may cause lasting sorrow. The smog of humanity originates from the pollution of human nature. This nature is pure, bright, and spotless, like a mirror. But people have to eat, wear clothing, have shelter, live, grow old, become sick, and die, people need to be safe, be respected, and to take care of their blood relationships, to show their ability and talents, to glorify their ancestors, and to leave behind a good name forever. Therefore, people will not be at peace. They must struggle, pursue money, power, status, fame and fortune, and beauty. In this way, the mirror is crept by dust, human nature is polluted, anxiety, worries, resentment, anger, fear, contending, confrontation, illegality, and other sediments arise, forming a smog over human nature. Under the smog of human nature, chaos clusters and contradictions multiply, confrontation is intensified, and people will be trapped in the smog of tornadoes, and it will become hard to distinguish directions. Because people are impetuous, it is difficult for them to be quiet. Every day, they are involuntarily submerged in a sea of countless information, drifting along, rushing around like ants on a hot pan. With their moods swinging and their thinking confused, they struggle in a haggard state of mind. For a while, they are ecstatic and in high spirits, seeming to have become the masters of life. For a while, they complain and resent the heaven and earth, fall into a mixture of grievances and anger, and become listless and depressed. For a while, they chuckle to themselves. For a while, they get dispirited. For a while, they feel like they know everything in the world. For a while, they feel like they have fallen into a bottomless abyss and don't know what to do. The irony is that the more severe the smog of human nature becomes, the more people will have the feeling of everyone is sleeping but I am awake. But when a wave hits them, they will find that they have been drawn into the mud of a clever person who may become the victim of his own ingenuity, trapped in a prison, or have been abandoned by the times. One should get out of the smog of human nature. In the smog of human nature, you cannot tell goodness from evil, and cannot distinguish what is true from what is false. You reap beans from melon seeds, and reap melons from bean seeds. You can't see any light or hope. Those who are free and unrestrained are not celestial beings, but spirits and monsters. Those who are severely attacked are not devils but Buddhas. At this time, you must light up the sacred lamp that is in your heart, remain true to the bottom line of your human nature, and you must not go with the wave of the times. And do not trust the instigation and incitement from any information. Guard your own field, don't try to fish in troubled waters, and don't take any chances, because when the smog clears, the purity of the earth will be restored. All the muddy water will sink into the abyss. What belongs to the greatest creator will return to the greatest creator, and what belongs to Caesar will return to Caesar. A pure heart will suffer under the haze of human nature. The more you suffer, the more you should keep the sky of your soul clear. Reduce desire, restrain impulse, communicate more with Jesus, Shakyamuni, and Lao Tzu, and don't try to look for shortcuts. Don't worry. The more anxious, the more disorderly you are, the more you should let your impetuous mind calm down. Watch the development and evolution of the situation. Firmly believe that the sandstorm will pass, and believe that light will come after the darkness. Karma is the iron law of the universe. Don't focus on one thing, one time, or one life. What you give and what you receive is always equal. Those who do not want their faults to manifest themselves in the light should ensure that nothing amiss lurks in their darkest closets. Your elation today cannot avoid tomorrow's wretched circumstances. In this life, things may have occurred according to your wishes, but it will be difficult to protect your next life from being shackled and slaughtered. When competing in the time of a flintlight, what is a long time? When contending for the space as big as snails' horns, what is success? Remain undisturbed whether granted favor or subjected to humiliation. Watch leisurely flowers blooming and falling, with no intention to leave or stay, but follow the clouds scudding along. Push aside the smog of the world with no completion of flame and ice existing in your chest. Eliminate the contempt and parsimony in your heart, and the fragrance of flowers and chirping of birds will always appear. If your heart is luminous, there is a blue sky even in a dark room. If your thoughts are dark, there are ghosts even in the day. Between ignorance and cleverness, I stick to ignorance but remove cleverness, to leave some righteousness to return to the world. I'd rather refuse riotous profusion than choose indifference, to leave a clear name in the universe. Broken walls where foxes sleep, deserted platforms where rabbits walk on, All were places of singing and dancing in previous days. Yellow flowers covered with cold dew, withering grasses looming in the mist, all belonged to the battlefield of the old times. Who won? Who lost? Who was complacent? Who was frustrated? Don't live in the present, but live in the future. When looking at the future, the mountains and rivers will be splendid, the weather will be favorable, the worthy person fully utilizes their talents, the whole world is as one family. Everywhere will be Xanadu, poetic and picturesque, and happy laughter and cheerful voices will always be overwhelming. The suffocatingly beautiful era that mankind dreams of is approaching all civilized people. 以天国品质待人, treating people with heavenly standards. Xiefeng. August 21st, 2018. Translated by Chinyu. Edited by Peter. The Life of Genuine International family operates A, B, and B Hotel in British Columbia, Canada. This is how we operate. Guests either book their rooms by phone or on the Booking.com website. Their names and phone numbers are required when booking, so that we can check them when the guests arrive. After the guest's arrival on the date of their reservation, we first ask for their names, then lead them to the booked rooms. We do not check their passports or ID cards, nor do we have a registration procedure, nor are they required to pay first, let alone to be asked to make a deposit. The next morning, after having eaten the rich breakfast that we prepared for them, the guests return to their rooms to pack their things, then take the room key to us, pay their money, and leave. Before they leave, we never check their rooms to see if there is anything missing, damaged, or soiled. We then wave goodbye to every guest when they leave. We feel that this is the most decent, the most civilized, and the simplest way to treat our guests. The basic point of treating guests in this way is to treat every guest as a well-cultivated and highly civilized person, to fully trust them and to believe that they will not take anything from the hotel or damage anything, soil anything, or sneak away without paying for the room after receiving the service, let alone engage in illegal or criminal activities in the room. Treating guests like this is also very risky because things that are soiled are difficult to clean, things that are damaged are difficult to reuse, things that are stolen are difficult to recover, and it is difficult to recover the room rate if guests sneak away without paying. After several months of this business practice, unpleasant things have indeed occurred. For example, some guests made the bed sheets and pillowcases very dirty, so they could not be cleaned and had to be thrown away. Some bath towels have been left very dirty and were difficult to clean, and we have no idea how people have used them. Except for these examples, no other uncivilized behavior has occurred. When operating in this way, all the losses have to be borne by ourselves and cannot be borne by the guests. Many people have suggested that we should do the following things. 1. When the guests register, check their passports or ID cards. 2. Let the guest pay a deposit and the room fee before moving in. 3. Check the room before the guest leaves to see if anything in the room is missing, damaged, or stained. If so, the guest should pay compensation. 4. Make up detailed hotel rules, including compensation rules, for the reference and compliance of guests. But we have not done the 4 things suggested in the previous paragraph. Why? Because since what we want to create is an international family, we must treat every guest as a family member. Of all human beings, 90, 80, or 99% are not bad people, but good people. You cannot treat the 90, 80, or 99% of people as bad because 1 of 2% are bad people. In other words, we cannot apply the same measures to prevent problems by bad people to all the good people. The guests cannot be expected to be vandals and barbarians, let alone criminals. This is Canada, a highly civilized country, and everything should be carried out in the most civilized way. Trust every guest. Any measures of distrust will make civilized people sad. Trust will give people a sense of self-respect and dignity. Trust will make people more civilized and loyal. Doubt will make people more brutal and cunning. Because we are life genuine, we are to set a civilized example for mankind, and we cannot imitate and apply traditional methods and measures. If we also adopt the previous methods of other people, then we are not the Chanyuan Celestials who are to initiate a new era. The sum of positive and negative energies in the universe is 0, and what you pay and what you get is always equal, so there is no question of loss. So we don't worry about someone taking things, damaging things, making things dirty, or sneaking away without paying the room rate. Everything should be developed in the most simplistic way, not in a more complicated way. To be human, one must not be too shrewd, and to get something accomplished, one shouldn't be too calculating. In the past 10 years, the new oasis for life, previously the second home, created by Life Genuine has been able to achieve. No one would pocket anything found on the ground, and doors are not bolted at night. No theft, no crime, no quarrels, no fighting, no mutual harm. Everyone is happy, joyous, free, and blessed. This is because we have followed values for the new era human being. Today and in the future, we should continue to walk along the roadmap to heaven and treat people with heavenly standards. 人生加油站, the gas station of life. Xiefeng. October 26, 2018. Translated by Yu. Edited by Peter. On the path of life, everyone will sometimes face weakness, discouragement, fatigue, exhaustion, lack of energy, and may even feel that they are useless and wish to end their life journey. At this time, they need to go to the gas station of life to cheer themselves up. In December 2016, with 3 local Aboriginals as guides, I went to Santo Island in Vanuatu to find a source of water. We were walking in the virgin forest off the beaten path. Each of the 3 Aboriginals had a machete and cut through the thorns to open the way. Foyi and I followed. When the hill was very steep, we trudged on hand in hand. After 6 hours of walking like this, my mouth was dry, my legs were weak, and I felt that I couldn't make it back to the station. At that moment, one of the Aboriginal people cut a wild sugarcane, peeled it with a machete, and handed me half of it. I took a bite and chewed it. When I had finished eating half of the wild sugarcane, I suddenly felt completely refreshed. My steps became light and I was full of confidence again, and we easily returned to the station. Half of the wild sugarcane was the fuel from the gas station of life. In October 2018, I drove from Lac La Hatch in British Columbia to Vancouver. After driving for 100 kilometers, I felt drowsy. Although I realized it was dangerous to drive in this state, I kept on driving for more than 100 kilometers. I finally stopped at a gas station in a small town at the boundary of Highway number 97 and number 1 and had a cup of hot coffee. About 10 minutes later, I was in a good state of mind and my drowsiness disappeared completely. It felt good to drive and I drove more than 200 kilometers to Vancouver at one go, and then drove around the city for nearly 3 hours in good spirits. That cup of hot coffee is the fuel you add from the gas station of life. There are 3 kinds of fuel in the gas station of life: material, spiritual, and soul fuel. If you are physically weak, you need to add material fuel. If your brain is weak, you need to add spiritual fuel. If you're mentally weak, you need to add soul fuel. Material fuel can be half of a wild sugar cane, a cup of coffee, a bowl of hot soup, a few pieces of chocolate, a newly purchased pair of shoes, a hot bath, etc. Spiritual fuel can be meeting with a good friend, a reunion of long-lost family members, a gathering of friends, a warm call, a word of encouragement and praise, a message of concern, etc. The fuel of the soul can be admiring a beautiful landscape, visiting a master whom you respect very much in your heart, reading and comprehending the teachings of Jesus or Shakyamuni or Laozi or other gods, Buddhas and celestials, making beautiful and fulfilling love, and so on. The way of life is full of ups and downs, and no one can avoid encountering difficulties at certain moments and even wanting to commit suicide. At this time, stop walking for a while, calm down, and see if you can find a gas station of life to refuel. Even just refueling a little bit can keep you going for a while until you get to the next stop. On the path of life, everyone will encounter difficulties that they can't overcome. Sometimes it can be hard for you to work them out. At this time, go and refuel in the gas station of life. If necessary, ask others to cheer you up. Some of the difficulties that seems great to you are just a matter of slight effort in the eyes of others. A little help from others will clear the haze of your sky instantly, and your life will be full of light again. When you are exhausted, haggard, your hope is shattered, and lack confidence, don't despair. Go to the gas station of life and refuel. The gas at the gas station of life is not expensive. It is nothing more than half a wild sugar cane, a cup of coffee, a word, or a love affair. May your gas station of life have enough fuel to ensure that you drive the car of life to heaven. 心灵之战, the battle of the soul. Xiefeng. December 26, 2018. Translated by Yu. Edited by Peter. The conflict of consciousness between two diametrically opposed viewpoints within one person is the battle of the soul. Should I commit suicide? Should I go to see him? Should I resist? Should I get a divorce? Should I resign? Should I change my job? Should I cooperate with him? Is he reliable? What if I get fooled? Should I borrow money to buy a car? Should I contact her? Should I join the organization? Should I be a vegetarian? Should I run away from home? Should I believe him? And so on. Such questions always contradict, interweave, and cause conflict in our hearts. This is the battle of the soul. The battle of the soul is a battle within oneself. Many times, the battle of the soul is simply a cruel battle of life and death. From the outside, one can seem calm and peaceful, but inside his world is miserable. It is calm on the surface, but the fighting is fierce in one's heart. Superficially, it is a prevailing mood of harmony, but there is anger burning in one's heart. On the surface, one is glamorous, but one's heart is bleeding. Two diametrically opposed values are fighting desperately in one's consciousness, and only when one side defeats the other can one win a short period of inner peace, relieve mental stress, and breathe a breath of fresh air. If the two values are evenly matched, one will either commit suicide, or become dispirited and haggard, or even sick. The battle of the soul is essentially a battle of values. Values are a trade-off, a choice, when encountering issues, such as the eating of meat. Should one eat meat? Some people think that we should not eat meat while others think we should. This is the result of a choice between two different values. When a person cannot decide whether to eat or not to eat meat, the battle of the soul begins, and his heart becomes full of contradictions and pain. We can use the conflicts between husbands and wives to analyze the battle of the soul. If either side of the husband and wife cheats, there is going to be a battle of the soul going on inside the other person. For example, a wife has an emotional and sexual relationship with a man other than her husband. Once the husband finds out, what will he do? Kill her? Divorce her? Beat her up? Stop talking to her? Swallow the bitter pill in silence and endure it? Tolerate it? Be happy? Encourage it? How to decide, how to choose, all depends on values. If you stick to the traditional concept, it will definitely lead to a scene of putting the cat among the pigeons and a sorrowful separation. If you feel that it doesn't matter, you can continue the husband and wife relationship, allowing human nature to overflow naturally. If you feel that your wife having an affair just created an excuse and reason for you to have an affair, you will secretly rejoice. But when we don't know how to choose, the battle of the soul begins. Our hearts will become full of pain and contradictions. It is like a confusion in our hearts, a fishbone stuck in the throat, being overcast with haze, a cold wind blowing, being full of doubts and having many feelings scratching at the heart. The battle of the soul is being staged every moment. 1 million people die by suicide every year in the world. A person who commits suicide has lost the battle of the soul. It is estimated that the number of people who attempt suicide is much higher, which shows the severity of the battle of the soul. Everyone, if their minds are normal, can't escape the battlefield of the battle of the soul. They fight with themselves almost every day. Only the severity of the tragedy differs. The battle of the soul is a battle of faith, a battle of values, a battle of the outlook on life, a battle of the outlook on life, and a battle of worldviews. Just like the Sino-US trade war, from its appearance it is a war caused by the imbalance of trade, but in essence it is a war between two different systems, and the core of the systems lies in the difference in values. Therefore, the core of the Sino-US trade war is a battle of values, so the core of all wars is a battle of souls. Where the values are the same, there will be no battle of souls. Where there is no battle of souls, there will be no contradictions and conflicts, let alone wars. The war I am talking about here is not only limited to the battle between two armies. Where there are conflicts and fighting between two sides, there are wars. The conflict within oneself is a kind of war, and the quarrel between husband and wife is also a kind of war. The phenomenon of vying with each other, cheating, and intriguing against each other in officialdom, business, love, gambling, and many other fields is actually war after war. There is no battle of the soul in heaven. If you want to eliminate the battle of the soul, you can only do it by entering heaven. There is no battle of the soul in the heart of Buddha and of celestial beings. If you want to eliminate the battle of the soul, you can only do it by becoming a Buddha or celestial being. Before becoming a Buddha or celestial being, or entering heaven, one needs to find the pure land of the soul. Where is the pure land of the soul? It is not in money, power, fame, profit, sex, in marriage, family, political parties, religion, and country. It is in the new mode of production and life created by Life Genuine. If you want to do this by pursuing and owning more money, more real estate, a higher reputation, greater power, and better-looking people, not only will you not be able to eliminate the battle of the soul, but it will aggravate the tragic situation of it. If you want to achieve the goal of eradicating the battle of the soul by strengthening your organization, your country, your political party, and the religion you belong to, the result will be exactly the opposite. If you want to eliminate the battle of the soul by making connections through extensive relationships and by getting married and having children, the result is equal to quenching your thirst with a poison. I hope that everyone can find their own pure land of the soul, and that they do not get stuck in the mud of the battle of the soul and feel exhausted physically and mentally. 把情爱高手一网打尽. Capture all the love masters and bring them into Life Genuine. Xiefeng. December 13, 2005. Edited by Qin Yu. The love masters in the world are all seeds of super celestial beings, but they suffer double misfortunes due to falling into the mundane world. Now, Life Genuine intends to capture all the love masters on Earth and arrest them to the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world to enjoy the celestial love life to their heart's content. For 5,000 years, human beings have been bound by ignorance and foolishness and have suppressed the most beautiful love of life under the 5 Elements mountain. Now, I will remove the talisman on top of the 5 Elements mountain and release the love that has been suppressed under it. Love is a precious gift that the greatest creator has bestowed on life. A life without love cannot bring joy to the universe. It is just a walking corpse, a moving mummy. The more abundant the love life is, the more beautiful the soul, the gentler the character, the calmer the temper, the closer to the greatest creator, and the more one understands how to love human life, love nature, love others. The more impoverished one's love life is, the uglier the soul, the more vicious the character, the more irritable the temper, the farther from the greatest creator, and the less one loves life, loves human life, loves nature, and loves others. The lower the level of life, the more it lacks love. What is hell? A place without love is hell. The higher the level of life, the more abundant their love is. What is heaven? A place full of love is heaven. People without love cannot go to heaven. The 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, the Elysium world. They can only live a loveless life in hell. Without love, are you still human? Pigeons know how to coo. Cranes know how to dance gracefully. Parrots and swallows know how to twitter, let alone humans. Any system that stifles love is inhumane. Any heart that suppresses love is filthy. Any morality that represses love is evil and immoral. And any mentality of individual or group that strikes love is distorted. As long as we delve deep into the human inner world, we will discover that those women who are called unchaste, flirtatious, or slutty, those men who flirt with many women, and those genius who have multiple lovers are the most beautiful flowers in human beings, the most affectionate and natural, kind, gentle, and elegant people. They are the people who do not restrict the freedom of others, do not limit the happiness of others, and do not strike the happiness of others. Those who advocate for chaste morality, those who sink lovers into the pond, those who force people to hang themselves to commit suicide, those who turn blue in the face and purple all over with anger when seeing people in love and want to beat people to death, and those who sarcastically mock and ridicule age gap marriage, those who establish moral barriers for love, those who specially pry into others' love privacy, those who defame others' love and blacken their reputations everywhere, and those who always use the guise of a gentleman to restrain love. These people are selfish, mean, greedy, and evil in their hearts. They are the demons and monsters in human beings and the calamities that cause human unhappiness. Love is elegant, beautiful, pure, kind, humane, moving, soul-stirring, inspiring, and wonderful. To become a celestial, one must first understand love, feel love, and enjoy love. If you view love as a fierce flood or beast, then you should give up on becoming celestial as early as possible. You cannot become a celestial. If you don't have love as a human, how can you understand it as a celestial? The life of a celestial is a life filled with rich, affectionate love. If you hate love, do you want to bring misery to the celestial world? The celestial world doesn't want the walking dead or mummies. When it comes to love, those with strong sexual desires immediately think of the transaction process between prostitutes and clients and associate it with debauchery. Let me tell you, that is lust, sexual desire, and animal instinct, but not love. True love is sacred, rich in affection, a dance of the soul, the sublimation of humanity, the trembling of the heart, and the perfect harmony of body and soul. May all love masters in the world come to Life at Chanyuan, where your delicate love pulse can only be felt by Chanyuan celestials, and only here can your buds of love blossom freely. What's the point of being with wooden people who cannot appreciate the beauty of blooming flowers, don't know to take a bath in rain when it's raining, be indifferent when the wind blows, or feel nothing when seeing the Mount Tai sunrise? Is life interesting that way? Love masters, come to Life at Chanyuan, strive to reach the peak of bliss. Rather than regretting, resenting, or suppressing, it's better to live gracefully. Chanyuan celestials are all love masters, willing to challenge all love masters in the world. If you dare not take up the challenge, then go ahead and cry silently. Exhaust yourself in the thorny jungle of love. Just pass your remaining life in cowardice. As long as you hold onto the hand of the greatest creator, you will have a rich love life. Lun Sanwei Yi Ti. On the Trinity. Xiefeng. Edited by Qin Yu. Firstly, the God in the Old Testament of the Bible is not the real God, and I briefly explained this in the chapter of the greatest creator. The greatest creator has 8 major characteristics: unique and exclusive, amorphous, neutral, mysterious, impartial, merciful, supremely powerful, and intelligent. The God in the Old Testament of the Bible does not possess these 8 attributes. If anyone disagrees with these 8 attributes, please refute them. If there is no objection, please provide evidence from the Old Testament of the Bible. The existence of the greatest creator is unquestionable. If anyone doubts the existence of the greatest creator, please debate with me. To understand the greatest creator, one needs to rely on spiritual enlightenment, which is achieved through observing the universe and then gaining enlightenment. Jesus is the spokesperson for the greatest creator on earth, but Jesus is not the greatest creator. The blind spot of the entire Christian world lies in confusing the difference between the greatest creator and gods. The greatest creator is the greatest creator, and gods are gods. The greatest creator is unique and exclusive, while there are many gods. Jesus is a god, but not the only one, so Jesus is not the only God. The universe created by the greatest creator has scientific laws, and science and reason are important tools for understanding the greatest creator. The Bible speaks of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, which is correct. God the Father refers to the greatest creator, God the Son refers to the gods created by the greatest creator, and the Holy Spirit refers to the greatest creator's consciousness, which is the Tao described in the Tao Te Ching. This Tao is the law, blood, and driving force of the universe. God the Father, God the Son,